Good afternoon, listeners. This is Imad Kasir, your RJ from the show Mind and Muse from Planet FM 87.6. And every Saturday and Sunday, we dive deep into the world of rich literature, arts, mind sciences, and much more. You can catch us live on www.radio.gov.pk/live-streaming. And today we are diving deep into the complex world of human relationships and personal growth with two thought-provoking books that will make you think differently about yourself and those around you. By the way, have you ever struggled with self-doubt or felt like your ego is holding you back? Or perhaps you have encountered someone in your life who's a bit too full of themselves, leaving you feeling drained and frustrated. We'll be discussing two wonderful books. The first one is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and it's a powerful exploration of how our egos can both fuel our success and hold us back from reaching our true potential. And the other book is Surrounded by Narcissists. It is written by Thomas Erikson, and it's a lovely book. It offers a timely guide on how to navigate relationships with people who are more concerned with themselves than with the genuine connections. So we will be discussing these two books. One is how to have a connection with your own ego, because as the title suggests that ego is the enemy, and this is the enemy within, not outside. And the other book will tell us how to deal with the outer world, especially with the narcissists, which we find everywhere. So listeners, stay tuned, and I'll join you right after this lovely track. Welcome back, listeners. This is Imad Kasir from Planet FM 87.6, Mind and Muse, and today we'll be discussing two wonderful books. The first is Ego is the Enemy, and before going into detail about this book, let me share with you a little about the author. The author of this book is Ryan Holiday, and he is an American marketer and author, and his published works include Trust Me, I'm Lying, and then there is another book, Growth Hacker Marketing. One of his book is The Obstacle is the Way, and the one we'll be discussing today is Ego is the Enemy. It was first published in year 2016, and then he has a few more books. Conspiracy is one of his books. Stillness is the Key, and Courage is Calling. Discipline is Destiny. The Daily Dad. Right Thing, Right Now. So these are some of Holiday's published works we have, and as far as the book Ego is the Enemy is concerned, this is certainly his best book, as we know that this is one of the most read books these days. It's been 9 years since it was published, and it is one of the bestseller books, and the topic, as I just shared, is the ego. And as he says that your enemy is not outside you, it is basically inside you. So we will discuss this book in detail, and we'll go chapter by chapter. We will discuss the key points and the key concepts and key lessons that are shared by Holiday to encounter the ego. And so the first, he starts this book very interestingly, and the first quote from Richard Feynman, he has started this book with this quote, and the quote says, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. So with this lovely quote, he starts this book. And ego, let's discuss the definition of ego as Holiday defines it. Ego is an unhealthy belief in our own importance. It's a distortion of confidence into entitlement, self-centered ambition, or the need for constant validation. So this is how Holiday has framed ego in this book. And we know that ego can be defined in many ways in psychology or in Freud's books. We see ego differently. However, we'll be focused and limited only to ego with the perspective of Ryan Holiday, as he has discussed in this particular book that we are discussing today. So ego, as I just shared, as Holiday defines it, it's an unhealthy belief in our own importance. And Holiday further divides life and ego challenges into 3 phases, which he has discussed in this book in detail. And these 3 phases are aspire, success, and failure. And interestingly, ego can sabotage in each phase. So we'll be discussing these 3 phases as explained in detail by Holiday in this lovely book, Ego is the Enemy. And we'll also see how ego affects in all these 3 phases and how to deal with that. That is the most important and interesting part of the book, that he keeps on telling us. He first discusses how ego comes into play, and then he tells us how to deal with it, how to tackle that ego. So we'll start chapter by chapter, and the first chapter, as I just mentioned, is the first part, basically, that is aspire. So in aspire section, he focuses on the fact that one should always stay as a student. One should be always in a state of mind of a student that is there to learn something new. And even as you begin, the moment you think you know everything, you stop learning. And this is a common observation, and we see that someone who starts saying that he already knows everything, his learning stops. So ego is basically something that pushes you into act like you have already arrived there, or you have already achieved everything, or you already know everything. So with this concept, the book, he starts the book that one should always be in the state of mind of a student. And the moment one considers himself as a teacher or someone who already knows everything, the learning stops. So this is the first trap of ego. That is where ego deceives you by putting this belief in your subconscious mind that you know everything. So the first thing to know is to know that you don't know. And ego pushes you act like you have already learned. So seeing yourself as a student is an armor, and that is how you deal with ego. That is how you start taking control of your mind, taking control of ego, and you then don't let your ego manipulate you or deceive you. Then in the next chapter he discusses that think little, act big, and that is how you manage yourself. Focus on what you can control. Don't let ego distract you chasing status. Do the work quietly with integrity. Holiday focuses here in this specific chapter that one should act big, one should be focused on doing rather than talking or thinking only. And there also ego comes into play, and ego wants you to survive. Ego tells you that you have already done big, you know everything, and only thinking or maybe speaking about that is sufficient. But Holiday tells us that we should not be distracted by the ego, and we should keep on doing the work quietly with integrity. And he also warns us, Holiday warns us against over talking or storytelling, because ego likes storytelling. Ego likes stories about itself, and it also likes over talking as if it has achieved everything and anything. So Holiday warns us to know this fact, that if someone is in the habit of over talking or storytelling, that the person is already deceived by the ego. So think little and act big. This is how you manage yourself against the ego. So, and then in the next part he tells us what's important to you, and what are your genuine values and priorities apart from what others think of you. So ego always tends to manipulate, and clarity comes when you decide your real aims. So this is extremely significant to know that what is in fact your real goal or real aim or objective, and you should be clear about it. You must know your values and priorities apart from what others think of you. And here ego tends to manipulate in a way that ego wants external validation, and that is why you keep on telling stories, as we discussed in the previous point, that ego tends you to manipulate. Ego wants validation from others. However, you should be always clear on your actual objectives and your personal goals, and you shouldn't allow ego to deceive you in that way of your achieving your goals. So he starts that you should always stay in a student's mindset. Then you should act little, think little and act big, and that is how you manage yourself. And the third point he discusses is that you should know that what is important for you. We'll discuss more on this after this beautiful track. Welcome back to Mind and Muse. This is your RJ Imad Kasir from Planet FM 87.6. You can catch us live on www.radio.gov.pk/live-streaming, and you can listen to us on the Radio Pakistan app that is available in the Play Store. So we are today discussing two wonderful books. The first is Ego is the Enemy, and the other one we'll be discussing in the later half of the show is a book surrounded by narcissists. And we were discussing the three main parts of the book, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and Aspire, Success and Failure. These are the three parts as defined by the author in the book, and we discussed that in the first chapter, Aspire, in that section, the author, he wants us to always stay a student, and then he tells us to think little and act big. That is how we can manage ourselves. And the third point we discussed was that we should know what are our goals and our values and priorities, and we shouldn't be distracted or manipulated by the ego that is always there, that is an enemy within. So we have to be careful all the time. We should first be able to identify the ego whenever it comes in to play. So the next point he discusses is that yes, and I would share share an interesting quote he has included in the book. Is it says, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." So this quote is given on the start of his chapter, where he tells us, don't tell yourself a story. So we just discussed talk is the name of the chapter. And then in the next chapter he says that we should draw the line and we should restrain ourselves. Ego often wants to push boundaries, do more, overcome it, and you need limits. Holiday talks about restraint and self-discipline as counterweights. So we should always be aware where our limits are, where our boundaries are, and we shouldn't be pushed by the ego into the areas which we shouldn't be going, and we shouldn't be overdoing in that way that ego wants us to do. And the key concept is that talk versus do. This is what Holiday has repeated in this book many times, and he says that talk kills action, and he warns us basically, the more you talk about what you will do, the less you might do, because more of your energy is already consumed in talking about what you are going to do, and when the time arrives of doing some action, then you might do less. So this is another trap of ego. Ego loves to boost, and Holiday tells us that quiet workmanship is something stronger. So we should, and as the book you read the book, and right from the start Holiday focuses on action rather than, and as they say that actions speak louder than words. So he is a true believer in this concept, Ryan Holiday, and he keeps on telling us. But the interesting point is that on every point and in every chapter he tells us that we should always be alert enough to recognize where the ego comes in, because ego, whenever it comes into play, that mostly ruins the stuff, and that is something that has been discussed in this book. And the title, as we are discussing, that ego is the enemy, so we should always be aware of our enemy that is within. So Holiday cites many historical figures and stories who kept humility, and they didn't boost and they did the work behind the scenes. They quietly and calmly focused on the work rather than focusing on storytelling or talking, as he says, and that was something that brought them success in any field they were in. So he has shared many examples and stories also, so that the reader may also relate to those stories as shared by Holiday. And he tells us that ego wants us to focus more on the storytelling rather than doing some concrete or solid work. So in the next point, he discusses this was the part one, in fact, the aspire part. So in aspire part, he tells us that we should always stay as a student, we should act big and think little, and we should know our goals. We should not be telling ourselves stories, we should draw the lines, we should be exactly aware of our limits, and we should be focusing more on self-discipline. And the key concept is talk versus do. This is something as discussed and coined by him by himself, Holiday, in this book, and he keeps on telling us that talk kills action. And then he has endorsed his theory with so many examples, real life examples and stories and figures, historical figures who were humble, who were not focused on storytelling. They achieved their goals effectively, efficiently, and in lesser time than those who only focused on storytelling, and that was due to their ego. That is what Holiday tells us, that whoever is in the habit of following this storytelling, that is trapped by the ego. So the next part 2 of this book is success. Aspire is when you are on some path, you want to achieve something, and success is basically when you achieve something. And in this chapter, in this part, in fact, Ryan Holiday tells us that this is where ego often gets even more dangerous, because success inflates us if we are not careful. So on that aspire journey, on that aspire state of mind, ego traps us there as well. And as I mentioned in the start, in the intro of this book, that ego is something that remains with us all the time, whatever we do. And in these three parts that are discussed in this book, aspire, success and failure, how ego deceives us differently in all these different states of our journey towards any success or maybe failure or whatever we are going through in our lives. Ego is always there to manipulate us. So in this part, success, he says that whenever someone is successful in any area, ego becomes even more dangerous. So the chapter highlights are that as in the first part, aspire, he says that we should be a student, and in this part also he says that we should always stay in that student mindset. The moment we start telling ourselves that we are now we know everything, or we have achieved success, or we have reached to the point where we wanted to, the success stops. So we should always stay in that student mindset, because success is something that when the success comes, we subconsciously think that we have achieved something. So in that particular moment, we should remain humble, we should stay curious, and we should never think that we are done with learning or with achieving something, because he warns us that the ego gets more dangerous. So in that state, for instance, someone has achieved something in any of the area, may it be business or getting a job, or maybe getting a success in any of the exam. So if someone thinks that he has achieved everything and he's or she's trapped, if they are trapped in their ego, their journey of success stops. And ego is something that never wants you to be comfortable in whatever you have achieved, because ego wants to stay. Ego wants its ego is a kind of different mindset, that it always wants to listen to its own stories. It is always interested in some sort of a storytelling, in some sort of talking about its own self and the external validation. So it puts you in some sort of a troubled situation where you are only left with the stories and not with the action. So in this chapter, the author has very interestingly warned us and taught us this message, that we should remain always in student mindset. And he has in the next chapter, he tells us that one should be beware of the disease of me. So he calls it a disease of me. And this is ego's epidemic in success. When success is used as fuel to carve out self-importance, so entitlement or me first thinking, it corrupts teamwork and relationships. So he wants us to beware of this disease of me. He calls it a disease. And then he tells us that we should draw the line, we should maintain our own scorecard. This is very important, listeners, that Holiday in this book draws the difference between external metrics and internal values. Ego, as I just mentioned, that ego wants external approval, and Holiday argues that keep your own scorecard. What matters by your values. Don't constantly measure through others' metrics. So this is important, that we should be aware of our own goals, our own limits. We shouldn't be directed by others for our goals, and this is where ego manipulates us. So ego wants external approval, and we should be focused on our internal scorecard. So this is how he tells us. And then the next chapter, talk, I just discussed that ego wants to dominate conversations, claim credit. Holiday suggests a canvas strategy. Help others get credit, then your work will rise behind them. A selfless posture. So he tells us that we should help others get credit. We should give others credit also. We should believe in teamwork, where we are dealing in a team, and we should always be focused on achieving goals rather than focusing on talking only. And as he says that ego wants to dominate conversations only, and it wants to claim credit. And then he tells us that passion is beautiful, no doubt it is, but if ego turns it into blind fervor, you lose reason. And let purpose guide passion. Excessive zeal can displace humility. This is a beautiful message given by him in this book. And then he tells us that in success, managing our impulses, staying grounded, and enforcing discipline, these are the guardrails against ego. So these are the things one should be focusing more on. One should be always aware that they should be focusing more on work, and passion is there. Passion should be there, but it shouldn't be manipulated by ego only, and we should be guided by purpose. And Then he has defined some key concepts in this book. Ego is the enemy. The feeling that you automatically deserve special treatment or reward beyond your merit is basically entitlement. And again, this is a trap, and ego traps you that way, that whatever you achieve, the feeling that you automatically deserve special treatment. So there ego comes into play again, with this feeling that you deserve something special, that you deserve something to be cherished about. And this is a trap as defined by a Holiday in this book. Ego is the enemy. And then he also tells us that the narrative storytelling, that the internal script you tell yourself, and that is also a trap by your ego, that I'm destined for anything, and it is all part of the plan, and which ego uses to rationalize decisions. So this is also a trap, and we should be careful about this. And canvas, giving credit, that canvas technique he has discussed in this book, a strategy in fact. This is a strategy of humility, supporting others, and letting outcomes show your value rather than confessions of greatness. So supporting others and humility, that is something Holiday wants us to show more, rather than only the confessions of greatness. And he also believes in this philosophy that your actions must speak louder than your words, as I just mentioned. So this canvas strategy, or giving credit strategy, is a way how you can encounter this ego manipulation. So as I mentioned in the start, that he has not only warned us, the author did not only warn us about the traps of the ego, but he has also provided us solutions, and how can we overcome this ego. So this is a very useful technique, that we should give credit to others, we should pay respect to others, and this canvas strategy of humility and supporting others. And the most significant of all is that we should always be focusing on actions rather than words, because that is where we can only encounter ego by doing something solid and concrete, rather than only telling stories. So listeners, can you think of a moment when you got praise or recognition, and did you feel proud, or part of you think ahead, what's next? So you should also think on such things, that when was the last time you felt like that, or maybe you just keep on feeling like that. So beware, that is ego trapping you there, and that is basically ego is manipulating you. So if such thoughts are coming to your mind, and if you follow such thoughts and such patterns, you should study, you should go through, you must read in fact this lovely book, because this will tell you that how to know about this enemy within, and how to then counter, or how to then overcome this. So this was some stuff related to the second part of the book, which is success, and the first part was aspire, and this now we discussed this second part, in which he was more focused, the author was more focused, and he discussed in depth the concepts and definitions, and he has tried successfully to differentiate between certain concepts which we which we do not pay attention to and which we don't consider while we are dealing with someone or even with our own selves. As I just mentioned, that our ego wants to take credit of everything. Ego wants to stay in superior stuff. Ego wants to be in that driving seat all the time, and that is how we should only know by knowing these things, that is how ego manipulates. And once we know that we are being manipulated by our egos, that is fatal for us and for others also, because the others around us, they can also feel that energy out of us, that someone is egoistic, and such people are not liked by people around them. So in this second chapter, we focused more on the concepts and this success, that successful people are more prone to this ego manipulation, and ego becomes more dangerous when you achieve success. And in the next part, that is failure, aspire, success, and the third part of the book is failure, where Ryan Holiday tells us that how this ego comes into play in our failures, whenever someone hasn't achieved anything, when someone hasn't been able to succeed in any particular area of their lives, may it be education, may it be professional careers, may it be partnerships in business, may it be relationships. If someone hasn't been able to succeed and he has encountered by any failure, so what is the role of ego in that particular state of mind, and how should we go about ego? First, we should identify, we should know exactly where ego comes, and only then we'll be able to encounter it and to overcome ego. And we'll be discussing that in detail after this news break. Welcome back to Mind and Muse. This is your RJ Imad Kasir from Planet FM 87.6. And the show is Mind and Muse. We are today discussing two wonderful books. The first one is Ego is the Enemy, and the second, Surrounded by Narcissists. So before the news break, we discussed two chapters, two sections of the book, Ego is the Enemy. And the last section of this book is the failure part. So the first part was aspire, the second part was success, and now the third part is failure. And in the third part, it's very interesting to know that in that failure part, it becomes even more dangerous and worst. And that is how the author Holiday, he tells us that failure is where many give in to ego's worst moves. So in failure, the first thing we should be focusing on is to maintain our sobriety. And sobriety here means clear-headedness, not droning in self-pity or fantasizing. Ego wants you to blame, dramatize, exaggerate, whereas sobriety is about seeing facts and responding wisely. So in case of a failure, we should maintain our cool. We should not blame others. We shouldn't be exaggerating or dramatizing. We should see the facts, analyze them, and then respond wisely. That's what we are taught by Holiday in this book. And then he further tells us to confront the undesirable. We should accept our mistakes, our flawed paths, the role we have played, and we shouldn't deny that. We shouldn't be justifying that also. That is very important, that we come across, we know that when one gets a failure or one is not succeeded, then we just simply start justifying ourselves. And so ego always wants to deflect. And Holiday says confrontation is growth. So listeners, this point is significant in understanding this mindset of ego, that ego always wants to deflect, whereas confrontation is growth. So accepting our mistakes, our flawed paths, the role we have played in any circumstances, or we shouldn't be denying it also, we shouldn't be justifying, and we should only accept, and that is how we grow. And this is what Holiday tells us in this book. And then there is another concept he has discussed. He calls it a lifetime versus dead time. So dead time is passive waiting, lamenting. A lifetime is using setbacks to act, adapt, rebuild. Ego wants you to stay stuck. Holiday encourages you to transform failure into momentum. So he also encourages us not to not to stop on our failures, but to we should use our setbacks to act, adapt, and rebuild, and we should move on. This is what Holiday tells us, and we should be in some momentum to get to that goal that we want to achieve. And then he discusses Fight Club moments and get out of your own head. He tells us that during crisis or collapse, ego wants isolation, blame, drama, and Holiday counsels self-awareness. Get outside your head, retrieve perspective, re-engage. Listeners, you will observe, you will notice that Holiday keeps his focus on action, and he always wants us to do something concrete, to do something solid, instead of blaming others or instead of self-sabotage. He is always interested in action, and this is where we can overcome our ego. And then in the last, he tells us that always love. Epilogue, the final note is that even when wounded, even when betrayed, don't let ego feed hatred. Love, empathy, kindness, these should be our focus, these things, and we should always remain positive, because ego loves cynicism and humility loves connection. So once we feel we come across any failure, we face failure in lives, we should not lose hope, we should not lose love or kindness. We should always remain with an empathetic mindset and with a kind mindset, because there also ego comes in, and ego wants us to blame others, ego wants and ego feed hatred. So the key concepts and definitions are sobriety, that ability to stay clear-minded and not intoxicated by mood swings, external events, or self-stories. And then alive versus dead time, a metaphor Holiday uses for active growth versus passive stagnation. And Fight Club moments, those pivotal, often painful, low points after which you can rise. You fight your own ego. And self-confrontation, the practice of facing your weaknesses, your mistakes, and role in any particular situation rather than victim mode. So instead of playing victim, we should always we should know our shortcomings, we should know our weaknesses and mistakes which we have made, and only realizing and accepting them will make us realize that what we need to focus on, and that is the way to move forward. So this is all about this wonderful book, Ego is the Enemy, and Aspire, Success and Failure. In this book he has Ryan Holiday, he has in detail, he has told us that if left unchecked, ego can lead to arrogance and a false sense of self-importance, and ultimately hindering our ability to learn and build meaningful relationships and achieve our true greatness. And he has shared so many examples, real life anecdotes, and he has also focused that how cultivating humility, self-awareness and willingness to learn can help us overcome the ego's manipulation and ego's limitation, and that is how we can achieve lasting success and fulfillment. So this was all about this wonderful book, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.